here is your change of base formula, and it is called that because you use it when you want to change the base. So normally the reason we would do this is because we want to be able to use the calculator and we are given a base that is not 10 or e. So here's how this works. If you have log base a of b, you can change it to any base x. It doesn't have to be 10 or e, that's just most common, but you can change it to any base x by putting it in this format. So your argument goes on the top and your base goes on the bottom. Okay, so let me show you an example of that. If I have log base 7 of 15, okay, I can't put that in the calculator. I don't have a log base 7 button. So what I'm going to do instead is rewrite this as log base 10 of 15, right? The argument goes on the top, over log base 10 of 7. And when I do that, I can then use my calculator button. This, remember the 10, we don't have to write that because this is the common log. So you might see it without that 10, but it means the same thing. You also may or may not see parentheses here. On the calculator, you always do and always should use the parentheses. So then in your calculator, you could just type in log of 15, close your parentheses, divided by log of 7. And in AP Calculus, we're going to get used to rounding to the thousandths place, which is 3 decimal points. So this would be 1.392 because I would round up that 6. Okay, so everybody see how that's written in there? Yes, good. And there is your change of base formula. Ta-da! Let's practice one example where you might use the change of base formula. Here is a situation where I have 2 logs being multiplied together. They have different bases. So I'm going to want to change one of them to have the base of the other so that I can proceed. It doesn't matter which way you go, I just need the bases to be the same. So here, I'm just going to change this one and we're going to see what happens. Change a base. I'm going to change the 3 into an x and see if anything can simplify. So I would have log of, I put my new base and the argument goes on the top, over the log of my new base and the original base goes on the bottom, times log base x of 3. And look what happens. Think back to our simplifying. If I have something that is identical on the top and the bottom, those divide out to be 1. So these would cancel out or divide to be 1. So I would have log base x of 12 left as my answer. I couldn't plug that into the calculator, and that's okay in this situation. Sometimes this will be within another problem, so keep an eye out for that change of base. Or think back to the problems we did before. If at the end we weren't able to put it into the calculator, that's when we would use the change of base so that we could get that decimal approximation. There are 3 specific logarithm rules that you need to be very comfortable with because we're going to use them quite frequently. And here they are. We've got the product rule, the quotient rule, and the power rule. And you will understand why they are called that in a second. So the product rule says that if I have 2 logs being added together with the same base, be very, very, very careful with that. They have to have the same base in order to combine them into 1 log. If I have 2 logs, same base, being added together, I can multiply their arguments together and keep them within 1 log. So here's an example of that. If I had log of 4 plus log of 6, it would equal log of, multiply them together, 24. Okay? Now, the quotient rule says if I have 2 logs with the same base that are being subtracted, this one, the order matters because we're doing division. You would do the first argument divided by the second argument, which is why we call it the quotient rule, right? Division. So if I had log of 25 minus log of 5, I would have log of 25 over 5, or that would give me the log of just 5. Last one. This one we use all the time. It's so powerful, and you're going to see why in the next video. This one is called the power rule, and what the power rule says is that if I have a logarithm with an exponent in the argument, I can take that exponent and move it as multiplication to the front. So in this one, if I had log base a of x, I can move that around to x times, technically this is multiplication, log of a. So, for example, if I had log of 4 to the x, I can then take this around and say x log of 4. There are your log rules. Those you should have memorized, especially this power rule, you should start to recognize when you're able to use that because it'll come up a lot, like in this next video.